All right. Hello and welcome. Thank you for taking time to attend the Salient demo series. We're going to go ahead and just get started with a little bit of housekeeping and then give folks a few more minutes to join in. Um, I'll be hosting, emceeing, and doing a part of this demo series myself. I'm Sanjay, Salient's Chief Product Officer. And this demo series is brought to you by the product team. And I'll let Chris and Dan also introduce themselves here real quick. So, Chris, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Chris Garner with Salient. My focus is on complete view product.
Perfect, Dan.
I'm Dan Berg, and I handle integrations and camera support here at Salient.
Sweet. So that is the product crew that's on today. We'll try to keep our videos on during this, but if we run into issues with bandwidth, with demos not coming through as cleanly as they need to, we might go off demo. But thought it would be helpful to put a face to a name. A little bit of housekeeping. So if you're having issues dialing in, we do have a telephone number and an access code. Maybe not tremendously helpful if you can't already see it, but maybe helpful if you're struggling with the audio portion. Also, we'd love for you to interact with us, and so there are two ways to do this. There's a chat button, so you can put stuff into chat, or there's a Q&A button. If you're on a desktop or browser, these should be up at the top near where you have other controls. If you're on mobile, I actually forget exactly where these controls are, but and along the way, what we'll try to do is we'll keep our eyes on the chat and on the Q&A. We'll try to answer these in line or with a demo, but we've also set aside some time at the very end for going through the chat and Q&A. Cool. So we're gonna give people maybe a minute or so and then dive right in. It's 3 or 4 minutes past. Yeah, I say we go ahead and get started. We've got a quorum here. We've got plenty of folks. All right. So with all of that housekeeping out of the way, let's get into the meat and potatoes. I want to talk just a little bit, a brief introduction before we get right into the demos, a little bit about who we are as a company. Salient has been in business over 25 years, and what we're really excited about is kind of the current stage of our journey, where we really see ourselves as the transition leader in cloud, specifically for mid-market and enterprise. The reason we see ourselves that way is we've put together a cloud offering that helps a lot of these mid-market and enterprise customers transition from a traditional on-prem system, and we've done that. Our hybrid cloud strategy has done that in a way where very low risk, very easy to get that journey started. And so that's, I'll say, been something that's really set us apart. Obviously, we've got dynamic resolution scaling, we've got the scalability, but at the end of the day, it's bringing life to some of these digital transformation initiatives and helping a lot of these businesses go beyond just safety and security and help start to unlock actionable business insights. So it's a little bit of who we are and the journey that we're taking. In terms of why Salient, we really look at ourselves as being an option that's highly flexible and scalable. Tons of different deployment patterns available, whether it's bring your own hardware, virtual machines, Salient provided hardware. We even support pure camera to cloud based deployment models with the right go-to-market partners. Um, as I talked about, we have this offering that helps us transition a lot of especially larger deployments to cloud. We've got some leading bandwidth technology, and we'll showcase that today in this demonstration actually. We're also really well known for our support. We don't leave integrators or end users behind. We really try to take ownership, work through issues that arise. And last but not least, we've got a fantastic total cost of ownership value proposition. So these are some of the main reasons why people gravitate towards our products. Hopefully some of these resonate with you, and if you found some new ones in here, very exciting. Let's talk a little bit about what we offer to the marketplace because some of this has evolved in the last little bit. For time immemorial, we have offered a VMS platform, the thing that lets you record, search, export video. But in the last year or two, we've introduced a set of cloud services. These really help you access your video from anywhere at any time, but they also help you manage, monitor, and maintain your deployment from anywhere at any time, whether you're an end user or an integrator. We've also introduced an analytics offering. This is a resale offering in full transparency, but it's well integrated into our product, the Video AI Video Analytics, and we'll do a little demonstration of that today as well. And last but not least, we have hardware that supports our various offerings. So hardware that supports our VMS, hardware that also supports our video analytics offering. So let's talk about what we're going to be getting into today. We're going to start off doing just a quick introductory demonstration to the Salient platform itself, release to release. We keep enhancing it, so it's always helpful to get a peek at the current state of our platform. And so we're going to be touching the VMS, we're going to be looking at cloud services, and we're also going to be spending some time on Video AI Video Analytics. Once we do that, we're also then going to get into a sneak peek of our upcoming release. So this is Complete View 7.5, and we'll talk about this later, but this is something we're going to be announcing and releasing at GSX. So it's coming to market this September. And while we won't cover every single feature that's a part of that release, we are going to spend our time highlighting a couple of areas and demonstrating some of the things that we think are a little bit more exciting about the upcoming release. And then there'll be some time for Q&A at the very end. So let's get started with our VMS itself. This is at the core of what we do, helps you view, record, and manage your video data. Some things that really set it apart. Very operator friendly. We have a consistent desktop, web, and mobile experience. It's a pretty responsive experience, in part because of that dynamic resolution scaling. We've got some interactive mapping, and so we're going to get into that today. It's also something that scales. We're a good fit for mid-market and enterprise customers because we've got centralized management. We've got tools like predictive storage analytics that'll let you keep on top of retention policy, integrate with enterprise grade authentication solutions like Active Directory. And probably one of the most exciting things is the technology integrations. Not only are we an open platform in the sense that we work with any camera out there, but probably much more interesting is that we've spent a lot of time integrating with a variety of technology partners, whether that's access control, whether that's analytics, or really a variety of other fascinating use cases. And so a lot of access there to technologies that can help augment and complete the system that you're trying to build. And the other thing that's a little bit unique about this is our APIs. There's no cost to accessing or using them, so we've seen a lot of our customers build even in-house applications with that, and we don't charge from our end. We don't charge for these technology integrations, and so it makes it very easy to pull everything together with Salient and with the integration set that we've already got. So with that, let's actually do a demo, and we're going to, again, not touch every aspect of our VMS, but we are going to focus on some of the things that really set it apart. So we're going to be looking at a little bit at the responsiveness. We're going to be looking a little bit at kind of the playback and search experience. So let me drag my screen over. So hopefully everyone can see the complete view VMS up on my screen now instead of the slide deck. So quick kind of orientation. I've got here a view of the Salient headquarters. And the first thing I want to showcase is because of the power of this dynamic resolution scaling, if I was to switch to different views, so let's see what's happening in the quad at headquarters, you'll notice the video pops up incredibly quickly. And mind you, I'm in a different state, a few thousand miles away, different time zone. And even over the connection I've got, the response of this system is so snappy. So again, let's check out what's happening in manufacturing. When I click on that, the speed and response of this, it's pretty unmatched for the number of cameras that we've got over the connection that we've got, and this is really in large part due to the dynamic resolution scaling. The other thing is this interactive mapping that we've got here. We've got basically a satellite image. This is actually where the Salient office is. Um, and I can hover over any of these cameras and actually get access to the camera feed. I can even double click on any of these. It'll add that camera tile. I can even right click and go into playback and review options from it. But we've made it very easy for people to spatially orient, whether they're using satellite maps or image maps. And if something of interest is happening, these cameras will blink different colors based on whether it's a motion or alarm. Looks like it's a very quiet day actually around the office at the moment. Um, so that's a little bit on the live view, and just what makes this so easy to interact with is some of that snappiness and responsiveness. But I also want to get into the playback and search experience. And so I'm going to take this tile. This is the front entrance, one of many entrances. And we're going to just go back to playing back video and reviewing it in a timeline. And I'm going to adjust myself down to maybe 30 minutes. And let's go scrub this back, see, maybe when people are starting to come in. Okay, we've got these little like alarm events, and so let's go look at this first one. What do we got going on here? So if we hit play, we can kind of looks like we've got someone coming in. All right. And part of what's slick about this experience, not just the scrubbing, whatnot. We can investigate. Hey, was he coming in with two cans? Were they beer or were they, the early morning Mountain Dew? And once we've got this image, I think one of the coolest features that we've got, one thing that sets us apart from how I've seen a lot of this done in the industry, is the fact that we have this little trim and export button right here. So maybe I found something of interest pretty quickly. I'll go to trim and export. And what that'll allow me to do is drag around this set of sliders, and it'll actually scrub the video. So I'll be able to kind of say, oh, no, he's still coming in. Okay, that's when he's done coming in. And maybe the lead up. And so I can get exactly what I want. It's all one intuitive interface. I hit check, and that little video clip has been added to my export queue. So I found that it's a pretty slick way. Certainly it works with multi-camera playback as well, which I wasn't showcasing here. Where I can drag that slider separately on the timelines for all the different cameras I'm viewing in the timeline review at once. So just a quick, easy, here's how we do live, here's how we do some search, here's how easy it is to trim and export into our export queue. So again, it's just a taste of what our VMS is capable of. And really, my focus here is how easy and how responsive it is. Let's actually go back because we're going to be doing a ton more demos. And so next thing I want to get into is talking a little bit about our cloud service offering. And this is something we introduced in the last a couple of years. And our goal was fundamentally to find a way to bring cloud services to both new and existing Salient customers. And so the cloud offering we've built really delivers secure remote video. So it's the ability to access live or recorded video from anywhere at any time, but with the right security in place. So you have full control over who gets access. We do a ton of network security to make sure it's encrypted and secure. It also provides the ability to manage and monitor a deployment. And last but not least, we've tried to make this incredibly easy to adopt. This layers onto a complete view deployment. No need to burden IT staff, no need to modify your existing deployment. And I think if there's one thing that makes this pretty unique, it's the fact that unlike pretty much anything I've seen in the marketplace, if you want to try out our cloud, maybe you realize you're not doing a ton of remote access, maybe you're not even doing a ton of remote maintenance. Our cloud offers, since it layers on, is something you can try. Doesn't change your deployment, and if it doesn't work out for you, you can just go back to using Complete View on-prem. It doesn't break your deployment, and that's pretty unusual. We've seen, if you have offers in the competitors in the marketplace that offer cloud, it's one of those things where if you go cloud, there's no going back. You're kind of stuck. That just becomes a part of the deployment, and there's no undoing that. And we've really tried to be mindful about allowing people who are maybe cloud curious to take that journey to do that in a very safe way, and to do that in a way that works out for them. It has to be a win-win. That's our philosophy. So I'll say that's another thing that's incredibly unique about our approach to cloud is we don't force you into it, and once you go there, we don't force you to necessarily stay if it's not right for you. And we do that without disrupting the operations and continuity of your deployment. So that's one exciting thing. Let's actually talk a little bit about the mechanics of it because there's two aspects to our cloud. There's a free tier and there's a paid service. So this is what a typical deployment looks like. You've got a management server, you've got recording servers and cameras tied to those, and you've got desktop, web, or mobile clients, and they're effectively all on the same LAN. That's great. Uh, our cloud layers on top, and the journey begins by doing a registration. So it's a call home, so you don't need to open up ports or mess with your firewall or anything like that. You have to have an account with us, and so you can do that just by going to our website. And B, there's a simple step where as long as you have on-prem access to the system, you make a call home. And once you make that call home and register the deployment, you get access to a set of web dashboards. And I'll be demonstrating those in just a moment. These web dashboards are actually incredibly useful both for end user and integrator because they give you a full set of details about all the assets, the recorders, the camera counts, version numbers, product IDs, all that jazz. And that's at no cost. We found that it's very helpful for everyone to be on the same page about what's going on in the deployment. And so that first step, easy and with a ton of value. The second step, completely optional. Again, you can go down this route if it makes sense for you, and you can also back out of it if it doesn't make sense. But this secure remote access service where we lay down effectively a VPN, and we allow remote clients. So you can use the exact same desktop, web, and mobile clients that we provide, except you're remote. You're outside the network. You'll come in via the cloud, and then you'll get routed into your deployment. And we've done this in a way where we're not terminating these connections inside a customer's network or deployment. Makes the IT folks incredibly happy. And it's great not just for getting access to live and recorded video, but as an example, our desktop client is fully featured even remotely. You can mess with user permissions, camera settings, recorder settings, all that kind of stuff remotely. You can build and modify views, and so that's the how of our cloud services and kind of how it fits with Complete View. It's enough talking. Let's actually go see a demo of this stuff. So I'm going to drag my browser window over. Uh, Thought I had it on the screen, but I did not. So here we go. Everything resizes. Wonderful. So this journey is going to start actually on our homepage, census.com. I'll go click login. By the way, this is exactly where you would go to create an account if you haven't already created one. You'd create a MySalient portal account. It's the same thing that would allow you to register deployment. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to log in as the end user here. The integrator experience is similar, but slightly different. You'll get a list of customers that you're managing and then visibility into their specific deployments. But as an end user, when I log in, if I get my password right, I've got access to a variety of tiles. This is just part of the MySalient portal experience. And I'm going to focus on the top left over here where it says Cloud Dashboard. So as this end user, I've taken the time to actually not just create an account, which I was able to properly log into. I also took the time to register a few of my deployments to Salient Cloud Services. And it's cool that there's access to all this other stuff. I can get the latest software downloads and our APIs and other stuff like that. But if I go into this Cloud Dashboard here, what you'll see is these are all the deployments that I have registered up. And at a high level, what we're looking at here, this is effectively each of the management servers. That's kind of the scope of a deployment. And so you'll see I can quickly understand the version, the server count, license counts, and some other stuff. I'm going to click into one of these. And so we'll look, for example, at the Salient demo server. What I'm looking at here is just part of the free tier. If all I've done is created an account and registered my deployment, and I get access to all this asset record keeping, and maybe I'm doing this by hand today, maybe my integrator is doing it for me, but it can get a little bit onerous, and it can be difficult to keep this kind of stuff up to date. I know nobody loves sitting there documenting all these things. And so we've tried to make this easy all the way down to warranty information, software maintenance expiration, hardware serial number or warranty tags as well. If it's a Salient server, obviously we can't pull these hardware serial numbers if you're bringing your own hardware or using a VM, but where and when we can, we provide that insight as well. And so a ton of information just to make the administration side of this as easy as possible. And this is at no cost. But let's take it one step further. This particular deployment is set up for remote access. It has a thing saying, hey, we've got a few of the recording servers that can't be accessed by remote access. And well, that's because there are trade show servers that are offline. No problem. And you'll notice I've got this remote access info button here. And so this is now switching over to the paid aspect of it. I paid for the remote access service. I'll just go ahead and get into this from the web client. You'll notice it auto-populates this URL for me. I can use this exact same URL in the desktop, web, or mobile clients. Here, obviously, it's pre-filled that for me in the web client. And it respects my permissions. So whatever, as a user, I'm allowed to do, just because I'm coming in remotely, it doesn't change the scope of my permissions. But here I am accessing the system remotely over our cloud service. And again, it's the exact same system we were just looking at. You'll notice the video pops pretty quickly. I have the ability to navigate, click into any of these tiles, et cetera, et cetera. And at this point, it's just, doing a complete view demo. And so I'm not going to get into, hey, you can do live search and export in the web client. You can do all of those things. The more interesting thing is the fact that it's pretty easy and seamless to do that directly from our cloud service. And this URL, in fact, let's actually go back to the URL. This URL right here is something that we actually work directly with our integrators and end users to white label. And so I know here it says remote.mysalient.com, but for you it might be acmecorp.mysalient.com. So real simple stuff. And again, if I logged into this system remotely using the desktop client, I could do user management, editing views, cameras, all that kind of stuff. So that's a little bit about our cloud. Now let's go back. One last piece is Video AI video analytics. And you've heard me probably drone on for a while. I've tried to keep it somewhat interesting with a few demos, but we've got some relief coming for you. I'm going to ask Dan, who's our integrations product manager, to talk to us a little bit about Video AI and to do a quick and short demonstration that showcases how this is baked into the complete view experience and how you can leverage it. So Dan, save us. Tell us a little bit about Video AI.
Save your voice. You're getting a little hoarse there.
Yes.
But I'm a little hoarse today too, so apologies for that. But thanks, Sanjay. So Video Analytics, it's a really powerful suite. We can detect over 30 different objects, people, vehicles, animals, weapons, things like that. We can detect all those objects, classify them, make them available for search. We're offering this pre-installed on specific servers or as a software only download. And you can start off small. You can start off with a 4-channel system, right? Just analyzing 4 video streams in real time. One of the very nice things about Video is that if you've got other cameras or historic video that you want to analyze, right, you can export that video out, import it into Video, and then include it as part of your search. And there's no extra licensing for that. Okay, it's a very, very nice feature there. It's very efficient, and the speed, which I'll show you in a moment here, and how it returns results is pretty incredible. It is NDAA compliant. Okay? And the licenses are open. Well, not open, but they're transferable. So you can move the video analytic license from camera to camera as your needs require you to do so. Right. And that's you don't need to contact us for that. You just have to configure the camera to be analyzed. So let's do a quick little demonstration here. Share my screen. All right. You can see my screen, yes?
Yep, coming through.
All right. So here's the Complete View desktop client. And what I've got here is video in the lower right pane here and running in the dashboard mode, right? So right now I've got it looking at license plates. So every time a vehicle goes through this one camera down here in the lower left, it's reading the license plate and then making it available over here. So I've got a long list of license plates going through here. Okay. So that's one way to use video is in a dashboard manner. You can have rules, any number of rules, matter of fact, multiples per camera. So here we've got, if a red car or truck goes through, specific license plates are detected. If there's a gun detected or a cat, right? You can set up any type of rule that you want to, with video. Now, we've got license plate recognition going here, okay? But you can also do people counting. You can do facial recognition, okay? And all sorts of different analytics here. But let me go into playback mode and go to web view here. There we go. So just make it easier to see here. So kind of a fun search that I like to do is I'm going to go back a month now. I'm going to go back to the 8th of July. And I'm going to search for a person and with the dog. How fast was that? And I can click on each one of these thumbnails and I can even say, okay, show me the bounding box to see what video detected there. And then I can also do a magnifying glass and zoom in on that so I can see the person walking the dogs there. There we see a dog there, usually accompanied with a human. There we go. And you can also do other searches here. So let me clear that out. So I'm going to do a car. And I saw this earlier and I thought it might have been kind of fun, but let's see what happens here. Is license plate said, hey, so if you've got, say, a hit and run incident, right? And the person, the witness, only remembers the color of the car and a partial of the license plate. So they know it was a red car and they said, hey, the license plate said, hey, say something, right? So you can do a search for that. There we go. So a red car. And look, hey, Jose.
Nice.
There's also some nice statistical options as well. So you can do things like here on intrusion. You can pull in that. Let me actually the wrong person there. All right, so let's go back to here. There we go. And select our, yes, okay. So it'll tell you a history. There we go. That's what I wanted. Hour by hour, almost minute by minute, showing you what has gone through that particular camera feed. Show you which one we're looking at here. Front driveway. So cars 2, bicycle 1. Then at 10:18, it was cars, 2 cars and 2 trucks.
Nice. Very useful to get these types of histograms.
Extremely useful. Yes, absolutely. And that's all included as part of the video package.
Perfect. Thanks, Dan. That was an awesome kind of tour of the live playback and some of the kind of
That's
insights that video provides. We've
right.
got
And
a
that's
bit of
just scratching the surface. So,
correct. Yeah. I know we got some Q&A. So actually the first one, here, I'll switch back over to the Prezo, but the first one has to do with Video AI itself. Does Video AI work with any camera?
yes, it does. Any camera.
Cool. Yep. So I think the question was, we don't. It doesn't have to be a analytics built into the camera. That's part of the joy. It can even be analog cameras that will work.
That is
Um,
correct.
We've got another question in chat as well. Unfortunately, we might have missed it at the beginning. I think there was a question on whether something is just for cloud services. Um, the only thing in the cloud services demonstration that I'll say applies to something that's Salient specific is the hardware serial numbers. But outside of that, cloud services works for anything, even if it's self-hosted servers, the entire web portal experience, even if you're using your own hardware, using virtual machines, using third-party hardware, all you do is you register your deployment with Salient Cloud. That's at no cost, and it doesn't matter what kind of hardware deployment you've got. You can get that web interface, that web portal that we showcase. So everything on there works regardless of the type of complete view deployment you've got, whether that's completely and totally on-prem using your own infrastructure. Yeah, so cool. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit. Actually, there's a few more Q&A in the actual Q&A, so let's actually dive into a few of those before we get into the highlights of our upcoming release. So first thing we've got is a question on whether we support any plans to support ONVIF Profile M. We are, in fact, going to be talking about this at the end of our presentation today. That is one of the things that the team is actively working through, is building out deeper support for metadata and metadata search. And so that's an active area of investment. Certainly, we can do quite a bit in terms of getting a lot of the events off of these cameras, getting some of that detail into the description, being able to search off of it. But there's more work there for us to, I'll say, more completely support Profile M. So on our roadmap and in active development. Let's see. Maybe Dan, does Complete View integrate with DNA Fusion?
Absolutely.
I thought so.
Absolutely. We've had that integration available for quite some time.
Perfect. Let's see. Anything else that we've got a couple of things about layouts, and maybe we can tackle those at the end. And I think it'll also make a little bit more sense once we do some of these playback demonstrations. So let's get into what's coming up in our next release. So this is, going to be in Q. I say Q3. Really, it's September. And so this is for GSX, so not quite Q3. But as a part of our 7.5 release, these are some of the features that we pulled out, not an exhaustive list, that we wanted to dive into. And so we're going to go into each of these today, talk a little bit about what they are, and actually do a demonstration. So to start us off, we're going to be talking about some enhancements we've made to the playback experience, and this is really about the experience that we've now brought into playback search. So in the demonstration I did, it was in the timeline experience. And so, Chris, you want to talk to us about some of the major highlights of the enhancements we made to playback, and maybe give us a demo?
Sure, thanks. So yeah, we spent some time back in 7.3 improving the behavior for playback timeline, as Sanjay showed earlier. And with our upcoming release, we're actually bringing a lot of functionality into our playback search experience. One of the things that we wanted to make sure that we did, though, is retain some of the behavior that exists today, so that we were not changing the complete workflow for our customers. We are bringing things in there, some of the benefits of being able to smoothly scrub along your timeline, be able to jump to different events. We're also adding some capabilities where you can actually better visualize as you're jumping from event to event and how they populate on the left-hand side, as well as being able to move frame by frame. That was a functionality that we had deprecated there for a little while, and we want to make sure we bring that back. That's a very important feature for our customers, as well as being able to persist not only the time that you're at when you start switching from one module to the next, but also some of the different search types that you're doing. So really tried to work in making this playback search align with our overall playback experience. So let me jump into a demo here.
Cool.
All right.
Coming through.
So I've already started logged in, and I'm now in playback. And if you're familiar with our product here, this is our playback search area. Again, I've already populated this. I've selected a camera and done my search. And this is a pretty familiar look and feel here of the different events that we have in here. the big part that's changed is along the bottom here in terms of our timeline and some of these controls. These now match what we have in playback timeline. With this, I can scrub. It's not really a lot going on in that scene, so I can actually move either forward or backwards in time, or I can jump from one event to the next. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump to an event, and as I do this, okay, let me hit play, and we will start seeing, and you will see over here on the left-hand side that the event actually populates, highlights in the left nav. And so as I jump from one event to the next, it will start highlighting in there. Let me zoom in here so we can get a little better view of what's going on. And so I can also scrub back through here. So I can easily scrub from one event to the next if I want to do that. Likewise, I can right click on the time here and I can go frame by frame. So as I do that, I can now click and hit play here. Make sure it's actually. Oh. So yeah, we can use this to jump between time. We can start seeing it move around here. If I select an event here on the left-hand side, you can see that it jumps to it in video. And the nice thing is what if I've done this and I want to go switch to a different camera, like I said, we're going to persist the time. So we're now at 8:57 and 35. And I'm going to select the other camera because I know around that corner there's another camera, and I should be able to see that person come around the corner here as we're playing. I'm going to go off video here because I think I'm slowing down. Oh, there's the gentleman coming through on that camera, so we can actually catch them coming around. Another thing that we've added in here, let me switch back to another camera, or back to the previous camera here, is improved our ability to do faster playback and such. So if I hit 8x, we can now zoom through here. I'm going to go off video. All right. That seems to let my system perform a little better. So yeah, so now I'm now going at 8x playback speed. So again, makes it a little easier to go find what's going on, as you can see people zoom through the scene. So be able to process video a lot quicker and such. Last thing, like I said, we persist the type of search that you're doing here. So I'm going to do another search here. This is our list clip, which people should be familiar with. I'm not at this time, and if I happen to switch back over to live view, I do whatever I want to do in live view, and I come back. We persist what the search type was, the time we were at. So this allows your investigators to pick up where they left off if they need to switch to a different module or whatever the case may be. So really just hopefully making that workflow easier when you're moving from, when you're trying to go perform an investigation. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Sanjay.
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, it's a pretty useful thing where it saves all those parameters, because even switching between cameras and watching someone, round a corner, like you just showcased, that's pretty nifty. And I think it's all possible because we're saving all those search parameters as we jump around even across cameras. So that's nifty. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is a couple of features around encryption. So one is storage encryption. There have been ways to tackle this particular problem, but we've kind of built it now natively into Complete View. We allow you to encrypt the video and audio data that we store. Doesn't matter whether you're using storage pools or volumes. There's some things we do to securely manage that encryption key ourselves. And this encryption feature is only available currently in the Enterprise Edition. I think one thing that's remarkable is it's actually fully supported even with failover. And so if you've got, a couple of standby recorders, you have a recorder fail, and, you need to swap over to one of your standbys during a failover, we will, kind of seamlessly pick up, retain kind of encryption keys, all that, and encrypt the video that we store on the standby recorder. And I think probably the most noteworthy thing is the fact that we've been able to pull off storage encryption with very little impact to CPU load. So if you want to turn on this feature, it's not like you have to go back out and respec a bunch of hardware that can suddenly support the added demand of this. It's a pretty minimal impact. We do have some toggles to make that easier. So we have a full and a light encryption method. Full encrypts everything. Light will only encrypt the iframes, and then we can either do AES 256, or I think there's a 128-bit option as well. So you can kind of have more or less secure cryptography actually being used to do the encryption itself. So that's the storage side of it. Probably what's more interesting to a lot more people is what Chris is going to demonstrate here in a minute, which is we've also added full support for encrypting our exports. And so in the past, we had a feature that would basically put a undetectable kind of watermark so that there was tamper proofing built in, so you could validate the authenticity of video that was exported. But now we've gone ahead and actually added a capability to export the video that you're encrypting as well. You have full control over setting the password. You do that every time you want to export. And our video player is smart enough to load multiple different clips that have been exported with different passwords. It'll prompt you for each of those. And so, Chris, you want to, I think that if there's more to say here, maybe we can just do it as we do the demo.
Certainly. So showing my screen here, I've added a clip in here, and really the biggest change is now when we go to do the export, as Sanjay said. So by default, this is not selected, so you'll have to select this each time that you want to do an export. You will enter in a password. When we export this, the video will be encrypted by the client at export. So once I've done this, I can go ahead and hit export. And it saves at that location that I've designated there, just like you have with all of your other export behavior. And I can now see this clip 1 here. So when I go open my video player, which opens up on another screen, I can come in and I can select to open clip 1. And it's going to prompt me for a password. And if I put in the wrong password, for example, well, it will give me an invalid error. If I just completely cancel, it'll say invalid. Let me close this and let me start again. And that way I can enter in the correct password. I can open clip 1. This time I remembered the right password, I hope. And now I'm playing the video. So that's our encryption. Again, as Sanjay said, if we wanted to load up multiple clips, we can do that. And I'll do that here real quick just to show you that it still works. It opened and it's on a different screen now, but it's going to ask me to put in a password. I'm going to put in a password and it's opening up on my other screen here. And it now shows that I have the video from, or those different ones. And as I scroll through here, as I have video for those particular exports here, it will start updating the screen. The benefit here is if anyone get access to this AVI file doesn't have the password, they will not be able to open the video file. So with that, that's how we're doing our encryption on export.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris. Again, simple and powerful encryption there. Let's get to another feature. This one is a heavy hitter, federation. And this is going to be particularly relevant to our larger customers because it's all about being able to scale a deployment where you can have fully autonomous, local operation, no single management server, no single point of failure, but give a lot of the more, I'll say important users that need access to more than one site, the ability to seamlessly move from site to site. Because today, if you set up a deployment and you have a dedicated management server at every single location or every region, it can be a bit cumbersome to have people log out and log back in and do all those gymnastics to get into each site. So Federation really addresses that, where you have autonomous site operation, but you don't sacrifice the user experience. There is one little caveat for this phase of federation that we're going to be releasing in 7.5, which is there's a little bit of work that you have to do to set up the user at each management server that's part of the federation, where you have to make sure they have the same username and credential. Subsequently, we're already planning some work to automate that process so that it's less of a heavy lift and manual configuration. But Chris, I think you're going to showcase a system that has multiple management servers and how easy we've made it for a user that has the right privileges to pop between these different sites, basically.
That's correct. Let me jump into that here. So I'm now logged into a federation, and the biggest thing that you'll see from a user perspective that's changed is we now have this little drop-down box here. What this drop-down box is, it represents all the different management servers or different sites within your deployment. And behind each one of these sites, you could have one or more recording servers, associated cameras and such. So as I'm looking at this, I can switch between the different sites. So that's the power of the federation, is now I don't have to log out and log back in as I'm connecting to different management servers. One thing you'll notice too is as I change, because we respect the permissions for that particular site for the given user that's logged into, you'll see some of the changes here in what tiles I have access to or what parts of the software I have access to. So I come in here to live view. Again, if you're familiar with this, maybe there's certain behaviors that you want a user to have on one site versus another. So as I switch from one site to the next, I get this particular view for live view here, and I switch over to this site here, and you can see now my view has changed. I'm still in live view, but the things I can see and do on screen have changed because the permissions or the configuration I have for that particular user have changed. So we can do this throughout the different parts of our product where you have your different permissions or access from one site to the next. So really the big takeaway is here being able to respect what permissions and access a user has for each site, and then the ability to easily switch from one site to the next without having to log in and log back out.
And it's slick how quickly you're able to do that. I mean, it's just a drop down and click, and bam, you're right there. So it's a pretty seamless experience.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. I know it's a whirlwind tour. Hang in there. This roller coaster ride is still continues. Another major update coming to 7.5 is some work that we've done with our mobile clients. And I know we've had a refreshed iOS experience out in the market for a little bit, and there's been some work to get our Android experience caught up. Exciting news. We have made that investment. In fact, we've taken the time to also make some updates and refreshes to the iOS experience as well. Nothing from kind of a look and feel perspective, but more from a performance, making sure that things like playback and scrubbing, even on the mobile client, are smooth and efficient. And so we're here to showcase the Android experience. And if you use our iOS mobile app, it's basically an identical user experience that now is on Android, and it's consistent with our desktop and web client experiences as well. So, Chris, I guess let's show the world that we have an Android client. It's real. It's been up to date. It works with our cloud services.
Yes, I have my Android here. I'm emulating this here on screen. So yeah, the same look and feel. So this is our Android device app here. Will be available for GSX. Again, same look and feel that we have in the iOS. We select here. I'm not going to go through all the features and functionalities, but just diving into live view, I can swipe right, swipe left to change different views and such. I can drop this down to jump to a particular view. I can use this to find a camera or find a view here. And if I type on a camera, I can easily jump to review or take snapshots and such. So really feature rich application that we've brought to market here aligns with our iOS. So the features and functionalities that you have in there, you'll now see in here. And as you said, we've gone along the way and made some improvements, just cleaned some things up with the iOS as well. So here is our Android app, or I'm sorry, our Android app, and we're looking forward to getting feedback from you guys.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, it's real. I'm very excited that we now have a truly consistent Android iOS experience, and certainly it's consistent with the rest of the platform, the colors, the interactions. All right. Last but not least, before we get into some Q&A, and I've seen quite a bit of Q&A pop up, so we'll try to make some time for that. But as we look out ahead, we're planning to get the Complete View 7.5 out the door and announced this September at GSX. So if you're heading to the conference, drop by, check some of the stuff out live. We'll be there demonstrating it. And then some of this already came up in the Q&A, kind of what we're working on looking ahead instead of a complicated chart with 17 different arrows of all the different initiatives and things that we're working on. If we had to bubble it up, there are three, I'll say, main areas of investment at the moment. One is continuing to extend and develop our support for capturing and searching, especially the camera-generated metadata. So I think there's a question about OnVIF Profile M. Again, there's little bits that we do today. There's a lot more that we are planning to build into the platform over the coming releases, and so that's one major area. Besides that, we have seen a lot more adoption of the web client, and certainly as we continue to build out our our cloud services, the web client's going to be a more and more important part of that experience. It's just so easy to pop into stuff with the web client, and so we plan on continuing to make a ton of web client enhancements that'll be coming out. Certainly some planned for the next release, and then I know Chris just showcased the federation feature, and we talked about it, but this ability to more seamlessly manage that user distribution so you're not having to manually configure the same username credential to enable the federation, along with some other improvements to federation, continue to be on our focus list because it's so valuable from a scalability perspective when working with larger enterprises. So that's the roadmap ahead. Certainly, if you liked what you saw here, we'll have a recording of this whole session. You can go back and catch some of these demonstrations. You can also request a demo, and so you can use that link. Have your friendly neighborhood sales manager come by and showcase some of this stuff for you. And so now we're going to actually switch over to some of the Q&A that we've got. So again, feel free to either use chat or to use Q&A to put questions in. I'll actually step through some of the Q&A because some of this I think has been asked a while back. So their question on can you open multiple layouts within one login session? There's an older version of Complete View that required a video client session per view or layout. Let me actually just demonstrate that live maybe. So here's Complete View. I've actually got a couple tabs open up here, you can see. And so I can have more than one, I'll say, view open at any given time. And so all I would need to do is right-click New Tab. And so we have a concept of tabs that you can actually have open. And so you're not forced to have one dedicated client per view you're opening. You can have multiple views without having to have multiple separate client sessions. There's a question on can you have saved workspace layouts? Maybe the best way to answer that is if you configure a bunch of stuff, you move your maps a certain way, your events pane a certain way, et cetera, et cetera. That information is saved at least locally. Some of that information is saved locally on the workstation you're on. So if you log back in, it's tied to kind of your user profile on that particular workstation. And so there's an aspect of that. Certainly, you can also do some of that with how you build specific views that you might use. So there are ways to, I'll say, accomplish the goals behind a saved workspace layout, for lack of better words. So I think that's everything I saw in the Q&A. I think there's some stuff that's come up in chat as well. Let's see. We've got someone who wants a copy of the video presentation. Absolutely, we can follow up, and I think Dan, we can get you connected with Dan. Is Salient moving towards FedRAMP authorized cloud services? Candidly, at the moment, no, we're not. I'll say rushing towards FedRAMP authorized cloud services. That said, we've built our solution in a way where we've made it easy for integrators if they want to host some of this on their own. Certainly, we've got very large enterprise end users who've expressed that interest. So there's nothing that stops our solution, whether it's just the VMS or the cloud services, to be deployed in a FedRAMP authorized environment. It's just not something that we host and offer ourselves at the moment. Um, let's see. Is the iOS playback issue corrected? Yes, it is. It's actually one of the enhancements we made is we went back and we said, gosh, the playback experience, especially scrubbing video on that timeline in iOS, there was some clunkiness to it. There were some issues there. And so part of the refresh that we're doing to the mobile clients specifically addresses the iOS playback, I'll say issues, or I'll say, yeah, it refines that. Um, when we get a broken license, I don't get a notification that all cameras have stopped. So I think there's a question here on just doing better kind of alerts or notifications if you kind of exceed the license count, like if you add more cameras. So we did talk about this a bunch on kind of the road ahead, but as we look beyond this year and we start getting into next year, there is kind of on our radar some work in the future on better license management and especially leveraging cloud to do that. And so we've got some plans on doing a better job of communicating, both to integrator and end users, the kind of the state of licenses. If you're adding a camera and you don't have enough licenses to cover all of them, we just we want to do a better job of keeping people abreast of that. Or if you're on a pure subscription basis and your subscription's coming up, we want to make you a lot more aware of that. So um, we'll stay on to see if any other questions come up. But thank you so much for attending this demo series. Again, we'll have a recording of this presentation out. And feel free to also always reach out to your local regional sales manager. If you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to follow up. Thank you.